Your discipline builds your future. Welcome to Clartify.
You already know what to do. That's the problem. If knowledge was enough, your life would look very different by now. You wouldn't still be starting and stopping. You wouldn't still be negotiating with yourself. You wouldn't feel like time is moving while you stay still. So ask yourself something uncomfortable. Why hasn't it changed? This is not a motivational video. It's an explanation. Most people repeat the same sentence without realizing how dangerous it is. I know what I need to do. They say it calmly, confidently, as if knowing was the same thing as becoming. That belief traps people longer than ignorance ever could. Because the modern problem is not lack of information. It's overdose. Everyone knows what discipline looks like. Everyone knows what focus requires. Everyone knows what they're avoiding. And yet, most lives stay exactly the same. Knowing feels powerful. It feels responsible. It feels like progress. But it isn't. Awareness creates an illusion of control. An illusion the brain loves. Watching videos, reading books, saving quotes. All of it creates emotional relief. Your brain says, I'm working on myself. And that feeling replaces action. That's how people stay stuck while feeling productive. Then the loop begins. You know what to do. You delay doing it. You adapt to the delay. And eventually, you forget the urgency. No. Delay. Adapt. Forget. Failure doesn't arrive dramatically. It becomes normal. You didn't fail. You trained yourself to quit. You taught your brain that delay has no cost. And the brain learned perfectly. Look around. People start strong. They talk about change. They feel momentum. Then they disappear. Nothing dramatic happened. They adapted. Different people. Same pattern. They didn't fail because they were incapable. They failed because nothing forced the change to become real. Comfort is not happiness. It's anesthesia. It keeps pain low enough to tolerate, low enough to delay change forever. Pain demands action. Comfort negotiates it away. That's why people say, I'll change when it gets bad enough. They don't realize comfort is designed to make sure it never does. Your life doesn't collapse. It quietly disappears. Time passes. Evenings blur. Years vanish. Not because nothing happened, but because nothing demanded you to rise. Most people don't lose control suddenly. They lose it quietly. Not in one decision, but in timing. They try to control themselves after the impulse appears, after the phone is in their hand, after distraction already won. Self-control doesn't fail, but arrives too late. Control happens before the urge, before the excuse, before negotiation. But most people live reactively. They rely on motivation. They trust future discipline. Tomorrow never arrives disciplined. It arrives tired. Fatigue destroys control faster than laziness ever could. That's why nights are dangerous. That's why discipline collapses after long days. Not because you changed, because your energy dropped. Control is not a moral trait. It's a condition. And conditions are designed. Your environment trains your behavior more than your will ever will. Disciplined people are not stronger. They are earlier. They remove access. They remove friction. They don't rely on fighting temptation. They starve it. Most people do the opposite. They keep chaos around them. Open tabs, notifications, noise. Then they blame themselves. Guilt arrives after behavior. Control must arrive before it. That's why regret never creates change. Real control begins when you stop asking, why can't I control myself, and start asking, what am I allowing that makes control impossible? Once you see this, something shifts. You stop blaming yourself. You start designing against your weaknesses. Then identity enters. You don't fail because you lack discipline. You fail because discipline doesn't belong to who you believe you are. Behavior doesn't create identity. Identity creates behavior. You act according to who you already believe you are. That belief runs silently. You can force habits temporarily, but behavior always snaps back to identity. People don't quit habits. They return to who they believe they are. That's why progress collapses right before it sticks. Not because change stopped working, because it started threatening identity. Permanent change feels dangerous to the brain. Temporary effort is safe. Permanent change forces a new self-image. And identity loss feels like death. So the brain pulls you back. I'm just not that kind of person. I've always been like this. Those sentences sound innocent. They are prisons. Labels remove responsibility. Identity justifies behavior. Motivation tries to push behavior up. Identity pulls it back down. Every time. That's why consistency feels unnatural. Not because it's wrong, but because identity hasn't caught up. That discomfort is not failure. It's identity lag. Behavior changed faster than self-image. Most people quit here. They think, this isn't me. They mistake discomfort for incompatibility. But identity doesn't update through thinking. It updates through evidence. Repeated actions under pressure. Not once. Not when it's easy. But when the old identity wants control back. Every small action is a vote. Not for success, for who you become. Identity follows behavior slowly. That delay breaks people. They expect instant alignment. They quit when it doesn't arrive. But one day, something shifts. You don't negotiate as much. You don't need motivation. Behavior stops fighting identity. Discipline becomes normal. Not because effort disappeared, because resistance did. Then, exhaustion enters. Most people don't quit because they're weak. They quit because they're drained. Consistency doesn't break suddenly. It leaks. Decisions, noise, stimulation. Your brain gets tired before you notice. Decision fatigue kills discipline quietly. People think they need rest. They need relief from overload. Rest pauses chaos. It doesn't fix it. That's why weekends don't reset people anymore. Consistency returns only when friction disappears. Not when you try harder. When you remove more, remove noise, remove unnecessary choices, remove access to distraction. Consistency requires space. Space to think, space to act, space without interruption. Most people recreate chaos unconsciously because chaos gives excuses. Stability exposes responsibility, and responsibility is heavy. That's why most people will never change. Not because they can't, but because they won't. Average is not an accident. It's a lifestyle people defend quietly. Average feels safe, explainable, comfortable. Change removes excuses. It forces ownership. And ownership terrifies people. They want inspiration. They want motivation. They want techniques. Because techniques don't demand a decision. Change does. At some point, everyone reaches a line. On one side, familiar comfort. On the other, responsibility. There is no middle. You either keep explaining your life or you start owning it. Most people choose explanation. If you're still here, you didn't. This channel was never meant for everyone. It was meant for those who are tired of explanations and ready to accept responsibility. You don't need another video. You need a decision. A quiet one. A decision to stop protecting comfort. A decision to stop waiting. A decision to accept that your life is exactly what your choices built. And it will only change when your choices do. Most people will close this video and return to familiar patterns. They always do. If you don't, welcome. If the series confronted you, press like. If you're done living on explanations, subscribe. And comment, I choose responsibility. You already know what.
Thank you for watching. If you're ready to upgrade your mind and build unshakable discipline, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. More powerful lessons are coming. Stay disciplined. Stay clarify.